Hi there, have you ever felt totally like lost, like your life was just caving in on you? Well, I totally get that. I'm the mom of 15 and I've been homeschooling for 32 years. And whether you're just a homemaker or you're a homeschooler and a homemaker, scheduling is a real sticky wicket. So stay tuned and we're going to try to unravel it and give some structure so it'll help us feel more successful. So today we're going to talk about scheduling. Now I have 15 kids. I've been homeschooling 32 years and I've just about had every kind of thing thrown at me to derail my homeschooling. First of all, I did not consider myself like a homemaker type, I wasn't raised to be a homemaker or a homeschooler. I was raised to think, you go to school for, you get up in the morning, you get ready, you go on the bus, you go to school, you come home, you have homework, and da. Every day is the same, and it just continues on. And somebody tells you when you're supposed to do stuff. It's from the outside. They tell you, okay, this is when you do this is when you do that. Then after I got out of school, of course, I went into the Army, and you talk about structure. They tell you when to go potty. They tell you when to shower. They tell you, everything. And so, I went through that, and then I came home. And I had to figure out what to do with myself every day. And back then, there were some homemaking kind of, different things going around and some encouragement, which was really nice. I think there might be more or less depending on what kind of a culture you're flowing in. But, on the internet, we have so much, don't we? We didn't have the internet back then, and I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do with myself every day. Like, when do you wake up? What do you do after you wake up? How do you go about like cleaning your house, taking care of kids? How do you do that? What kind of a structure do you have? Now, I know homeschooling is thought of as this free-for-all where, we wake up at 11 in the morning and then we wear pajamas all day. And right? And at first, because that's what we're all used to. We're thought of, we're trained to think of when you go home, that's where you relax. That's where you kind of flop, and that's where all holds are barred, and so you can do whatever you want to, whenever you want to, and we like to have that freewheeling kind of learn on the fly, kind of natural, organic thing going on, which is really wonderful. But I gotta tell you, getting up that late and getting your pajamas all day long gets old really fast. And so you have to you don't want to be going crazy and being like, okay, children, did you dress properly for dinner? Are your collars starched? Oh, by the way, this jewelry is from my grandson. He made this for me, so I had to wear it. But I digress. So, you don't want to be like the opposite thing where, you're like, okay, let's see, we've got to do math at 10 o'clock. Do you have your math books? Where's your pencil? Oh no, if we don't get it now, then we will be behind because we have French at 11, You don't have to do that. You don't have to ring the bell. Ring! Okay, children, time to put your pencils down. Time for creative play. No, what we got to do is we got to strike a balance, okay? How do we go about that? No one tells you anything. You just like out there they say, well, this is what you should do every day. And you go, well, how do I put it in there? I don't know where to put it. It's kind of like that book I have down as the brothers book. Do I dust or vacuum first? Which comes first? The dust or the vacuuming? Right? So when you've got this kind of stuff going on in your head and you'll see one person and they're doing it one way, and so you try that and it doesn't work for you, and you go to another person and they're doing it that way and that doesn't work for you, and so you're just kind of lost. Well, of course we know that, first of all, we know that our own little pea brains have limits, and so we need the wisdom of God. So what's the first thing we do? Well, we renew our mind, we read the word, and we pray, and we ask God. It's the THE. I have an old video called the THE method. Before you even open your eyes in the morning, you say, I'm thankful to you, Lord, for every good thing. I humble myself before you, and I ask for your help, and I expect that you are really going to help me. So if you use the THE method before you decide how you're going to schedule your life, then you know that as you're scheduling, God's going to be with you. He's going to help you figure it out. Now, I'm going to try to show you some different strategies. And the first strategy we're going to talk about is I hope I can do this without glare. This is called anchors. Now, everybody, even if you're at home and you don't have to get up and go to work by a certain time or anything like that, there are certain anchors we all have. And one of the main anchors, especially when you have little kids, okay, is going to be your meal times. That's an anchor. That's 3 times a day that you have to plan your day around, right? Another anchor is work times. Let's say you have a spouse and he goes to work at certain times. That's going to be another one of your anchors. Another anchor is bedtime, which I know fluxes, right? But it can be a really good anchor. So if you take these anchors and you work around them, what this will do is it's kind of like the skeleton or the framework of a house, and then you can flesh it out from these anchors. So I'll let you look at that, really study it. And yeah, so anchors are where it's at. When you have anchors, what you have is there are times that we've had times where we had just a regular 9 to 5, Monday through Friday work week. And so that's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. But I'll show you the particulars about that. But what if your spouse has a night job and you want to make sure your kids have time with him and they just don't miss him every day? Well, there are ways to work with that too. And so your meal times and your wake up and your bedtime might be a little bit different, and that's okay. And you can work with that too, but you can still have structure and flesh it out around that. Let's see. So there's also there's different things that you can work with and still be able to use your anchors to plan your day. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is compartments. Think of your day in blocks and compartments. When we think of blocks, we are thinking here basically of early morning, mid-morning, lunch, early afternoon, late afternoon, dinner, and evening. So if you can see this here. So it doesn't really matter when you rise or when you go to bed. If you can look at these blocks and you can see what we've done is we've taken some anchors here. We've taken, early morning is going to be like the breakfast time, before, during, and after breakfast. Mid-morning is after breakfast is over. Then we have lunch. Then we have early afternoon. That's going to be right after lunchtime. We have late afternoon, and that's kind of going to be like when you're winding things down towards dinner. Then you have dinner, and that's dinner and cleanup and fellowship and things. And then you have your evening time, and that's usually some family time, and then you're going to bed. So depending on your life, this is pretty much how it's laid out. Now, the difference could be if you have, like I said, your husband is working the late shift, and then your morning may look different from someone else's morning, and your afternoon and your evening might look different, okay? We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so basically here are the different blocks in your day. And they're based on some basic anchors, but they are adaptable, right? So in those blocks you think, well, what are the things I need to do every day? Well, every day I'm going to need to awaken at a decent time. Now that doesn't mean early o'clock. When the clock-a-doodle-doo comes, my daughter, her mother-in-law had some roosters, and she raises chickens. She says, how would you like to have I think it's 1 or 2 of them are roosters, I'll just drop them right off. She said, oh, well, it'd be good for the kids. I'm going to get some hens, and so that'll be good for the kids to have a rooster around. So she said, no problem. Little did they know that this rooster is very fastidious about 5 o'clock in the morning. And now it's like, ah! So, yeah, and they live in a mobile home, so the rooster goes right out the bedroom and goes, cock-a-doodle-doo, at 5 o'clock in the morning, whether you like it or not. I'm sure many of you have the same experience. But anyway, so if you don't have to get up at early o'clock. You don't have to get it, let's crack it on, right? But I think 7:30 for most of us, 7:30 is probably the latest that you want to get up if you have a regular schedule. So when you're doing these blocks, you have to think, how am I going to structure my life within these blocks? So you think the first block is when you're first waking up in the morning. what are the priorities? What can you do? You need to put in there something besides I just kind of roll out of bed and then I can't think of that early in the morning. Can you? I'm just like I'm fuzz, But if I have a routine, so we want to put routines within these blocks. And the first routine I'm going to have is I'm going to make sure that I do my personal hygiene, I take care of my body, and that I'm making my bed, that I'm spending time with the Lord. Even though you might not be able, with little tiny kids, it might be a little more challenge. But especially if you have older kids, this is your time to be with the Lord in the morning. And then I'm going to also refuel my body. Maybe throw in a little exercise in there. All over the internet, there's like these 7-minute, 10-minute little workouts. And if you have that done first thing in the morning, just like brushing your teeth, and you don't have to worry about the rest of the day, they're done. That's done because mom has to take care of mom, or else mom can't take care of the kids. And it's really unpleasant to be around someone who looks all frumpy all the time and doesn't smell too well, and her hair's all frizzy and unkempt. Put a little lip gloss on, put a little eyeliner. Fix yourself up. Not for you, but so the people that love you can look at something nice all day. So that's early morning. And this also, you should be teaching your kids. Also, you're going to be making your bed, right? I make my bed. And you got to teach these things to your kids. You got to get them into this routine so that no matter what happens in their lives, this routine will help them to stay on top of it. You read and you hear about people that went through prison camp experiences, and how having this routine that they had lived all their lives kept them going when everything was crazy. When you're totally taken out of your home environment, everything's unfamiliar. If you have a routine, that keeps you from losing your marbles. So if we can teach our kids, you wake up in the morning, you're going to make your bed. You're going to take care of your personal hygiene. You're going to refuel your body. You're going to do a little exercise. You're going to spend some time with the Lord, and just putting those things in that early morning. Then breakfast, right? And then I already talked about refueling your body, but breakfast, it doesn't have to be elaborate. You don't have to have, 3-course meal for breakfast. But I do not recommend cold cereal, simply because it's usually very sugary, and it does, you got dyes, you got all kinds of nasty things. But there's granola. Granola is just as fast as box cereal. There's oatmeal. We ate oatmeal, for so many years. Oatmeal or cream of wheat. It doesn't have to be the name brand cream of wheat. You can get farina, is what they call it, and you can get it in bulk. There are so many different things you can eat for breakfast. You just fry an egg for everybody and have a piece of toast. That's good. Or just have bagels and cream cheese. There are lots of very simple things that you can do. You can do like a smorgasbord breakfast, where people can choose different things they want that you already have ready. And there's simple things you can do about that. So you get your breakfast, and then here's the important part, and this is sometimes I think what we forget, is that if we don't have a basis for our day in neatness, then it just snowballs downward. Every day is just a real struggle. So honestly, we don't do anything until the house is clean. That's my rule. That's how I feel good. That's how I run. Now, we're not going to do super cleaning. We're not going to do decluttering every day. We're just going to maintain it. But we're going to have the floors clean. We're going to have the counters clean. We're going to straighten up the fridge. No, not super clean it, but make sure that, there's not mold growing in there. And we're going to wipe it maybe. We're going to make sure our counters are clean in our kitchen, and that there aren't any dirty dishes. So we're going to wash the dishes. I'm going to do a load of laundry, before we start school. We're going to vacuum. We're going to just do the basics to maintain. We're not going to have everything all over the place, okay? Now, once that is done, then we have the homeschooling time. And homeschooling for us, it usually starts between 10 and 10:30. And then, so I'm waking up my girls at 7:30. So we've got 3 hours to get all that done. And if your house is pretty decluttered, it shouldn't take more than that. If you've got a really cluttery house, just stop everything. Just stop. And get your personal hygiene done every day, and just get your house in order for a whole week. Just take a whole week and pitch and burn and clean, so that every day what you're doing is you're just maintaining that. And of course, you'll have to do this periodically, because things happen and we get behind on things, and we'll have to take another week and just go through it, whatever. But the Get a hold of your house. Take the week off. Trust me, it'll bless you. It'll be worth it. You won't fall behind. Trust God. Trust God. He'll help you. And get through that 1 week of doing it. Then you go ahead and just maintain it. And so by 10 or 10:30, you're ready to do the homeschooling. Now that's probably going to last a couple to 3 hours, and you probably have to have some lunch in between there. Now when you do that, make sure that's simple. Like you can do leftovers, you can do lunch packs, those. I have a whole thing on my blog where I have all kinds of pictures and references about how you kind of pack a lunch for your kids like you would if they were going to school, kind of the night before or in the evening or whatever, or in the morning. And that way they go in there and they've got like a little sandwich, maybe some leftovers, and it's all just in one of those little partitioned little lunch pack things, and you put the top on it and you stick it in the fridge. And so everybody knows where it is, and they can kind of, as they're working through their schoolwork, they can grab one and eat it, and they can empty it and put it in the sink. And so that's less cleanup in the middle of that day. That's one way you can have more. I mean, this is just one option, okay? What I'm trying to get across here is not that you have to do things exactly as I'm prescribing them, but that you can have structure and it's not against the law, okay? It won't ruin you. It will bless you if you have some order. Okay, now, as you're doing this, about, you've cleaned up, you've done, okay, about 1 o'clock-ish, then you've got another change in your block. And sometimes what I've done, I've said, okay, 1 o'clock or 1 or 2 o'clock, whatever works, we're going to have some quiet time. Everybody's just going to have quiet. There's not going to be any devices on, no TVs, people aren't going to be running around. You have to stay in one place, wherever that is. You have to be reading or doing some other quiet activity. Mom's going to have quiet time. Everybody's going to have quiet time. And what this does is it trains them to understand what quiet is. If you have a lot of kids, your house is always noisy. It's nice to know you're going to have quiet time. Older kids are usually reading novels or doing some research, something like that. And little kids hopefully can take a nap, and they're less grumpy in the afternoon that way. And if mommy can get a little quiet, little rest, little nap, she's less grumpy too. And so then, everybody gets, and that's actually when I had a lot of little kids. That's actually when I spent time with the Lord, because I couldn't do it early in the morning, getting my husband to work, dealing with the babies. This is the time when it was quiet. I could actually have prayer time and get into the Bible. So that's what I would do. And then after that, then you have kind of a late afternoon block, and that's when the kids can play. They're doing projects, they're practicing guitar, doing some artwork, whatever they're doing, and you're just kind of like floating around, you're doing some little house projects, maybe doing some more laundry, maybe you have a little side hustle you're working on, and then like at a certain point now you have the time when you're dinner prepping. And so you can have a partner with you and you're dinner prepping, and then everybody sits down to eat. Then after you have a cleanup, and then you have the evening. And this is when things kind of chill and they cool down, spending time with daddy, whatever activities you have, and everybody's winding down. And at a certain point, everybody's got to get ready for bed. And bedtime can be really important for the next day. This is when you can make sure everybody's got their clothes ready for the morning. Before you go to bed, make sure the house is decent, and it really helps the next day. You have your clothes set out. I set up my clothes every night, and I check and make sure about my meals for the next day, so I know if I have to take something out of the freezer or something like that. I glance at that. I glance at my to-do list for the next day and stuff like that. That's when you can do that. Now, as far as reading aloud to your kids, you can either read aloud during your school time, or you can totally put that off and just do your math and your reading and writing, and then have read aloud time with your kids before bed. And sometimes that's more productive. I mean, like I say, you adapt this to what works for your family. So when we talked about blocks, that's what we're talking about, okay? That's how, because when you're home with your kids, when you're homeschooling and you're homekeeping, it's not like at school, okay? I know it takes a lot of drag for them to get everybody on the bus. Everybody has to stand in line, get in line, take the roll. So it takes a long time. But when they are in that classroom, they're not worried about cooking the dinner and making sure the laundry's washed. And, they don't have that other distracting stuff all around them. So what we have to do when we're at home is we have to make a space for homeschooling. And now I'm not talking about learning. spontaneous learning. That should happen all the time. We're talking here to have a couple hours a day when we're just specifically focusing on academic subjects. First of all, we're teaching them, we need to teach them the Bible. That's number one. And good moral principles. Well, that's going to follow through your day too. But I mean, you'll have like a concentrated time during that time. Then you want to have time where you teach people how to read and how to write and how to do math. And then you're going to put in there some science and some history. And, you might want to do some concentrated art or, the arts I'm talking about, teaching them about music and, appreciating good music, appreciating good art. But, there's all kinds of ways to weave this into your life. You don't just have to do it. But that academic time, what's the most important is teaching them how to read and write and do arithmetic, and to know that the Bible is important in every aspect of learning, including science and history. And so when you put all that together, believe it or not, it doesn't take more than 3 hours, even if you have more than 2 or 3 kids. Okay, maybe say you have 4 or 5 or 15. I wasn't homeschooling all 15 at once, ever. That. But anyway, I think I did, the most was 8 or 9 at a time, I think. Anyway, some of the kids you're going to be sitting down and teaching how to read, so you need to do the one-on-one. But after your child has learned how to read, then you've got to make sure that child is doing self-directed work. In other words, they are doing the reading, and they are doing the writing, and they are doing the math on their own, and there's different ways to go about that. Karen Rodriguez over at Our House, she's great for that, and she does the Robinson curriculum, and it's really a marvelous program. I like the ideas, lots of them. I don't prescribe to every one of them, but the core idea of teaching our kids to read and do basic math, so then they take off and they take on that responsibility, and you're just there as support and to make sure they get the work done, and to grade and encourage them along the way, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still very involved with my kids. I think I'm a little more involved than Robinson would have been with his kids. But at the same time, I don't want to be constantly helping them depend. I don't want them to be so dependent on me. I want them to learn how to do it themselves. So if that helps. So with that in mind, I'm going to give some specifics. Now this is for the person whose husband works like a 9-to-5 job. Okay. So with this in mind, we're going to get up at 7:30. We're going to then from 7:30 to 8:30, everybody's going to do their personal hygiene and make their beds. 8:30, we're going to have some breakfast. And about 8:45, 9 o'clock, then we're going to clean. We're going to clean the kitchen. I'm going to do some laundry. We're going to clean the general areas. We're going to make sure everything's orderly. So about 10 or 10:30, then we are sitting down, and what I want to do is I want to do something wiggly. I want to get the energies out. So we're going to dance in place. When you have little kids dance in place or whatever, I don't have to do that. I have older girls, so we're not doing that currently, but I did that a lot. We did something wiggly or something like that. Then I'm going to do read aloud time. Now the older kids are going to be expected to sit there, and the little kids can kind of slowly, if they lose interest, I'm not going to make them sit there the whole time. Although they can. My husband has trained our little girls to sit very still, and if they get bored, they just go to sleep on his lap. It's really, really kind of cute. But anyway, so during that time, also we might have a devotional, we might sing a hymn, we're gonna read aloud, and it might take even 45 minutes, half hour to 45 minutes, and we're gonna have that time. And then, since that's good, we have to have time, we have to connection time. Connection and relationship are so important to homeschooling. But after that, I want to get the basics and the most important things out of the way first thing. So we're gonna do our reading and our writing and our arithmetic. Now math, we might put math first because it's like eat the frog, right? Some kids, they hate math. So if you put math first, get them to do their math lesson, and then after that, they're going to do some sort of reading and writing. We do McGuffey's, and we do. I have different novels that they read, or not really textbooks. I don't think Charles Coffin is a textbook. It's a history book that's in stories. So they read that. They're going to do some stuff after that. They're going to do some notebooking. They're going to do some sort of writing. And then And then we'll have like lots of times we have the science kind of an overview, kind of a science thing, and then they're done. Okay. Now, during the middle of that, usually we have to have a lunch break. Now, lunch around here, like I said, is leftovers or snack packs, and then we're done. And then it goes from there. Now, as far as the rest of the day, and I know that in lots of states you have to account for so many hours of learning, but you have to figure. Okay, so we've just covered the basic academics, but after that, there's so much else going on. My girls are learning how to play guitar. You might have some kids that are doing computer stuff. Someone's doing some art. Some others are reading just books they're interested in. They might be doing projects. Maybe they have a class someplace, or maybe they're going out and they're playing basketball. All of this counts. And so you can count all of these hours, and you can call them PE, you can call it creative exploration. I don't know. Make it sound really, official. And yeah, so that's how that works. That's how the homeschooling scheduling, or routine, shall I say, works within these blocks. And so when you put it that way, then you're going to assign specific times, maybe. Maybe you have to because of your husband's job. And so you're going to want to make sure that if he gets home at 5:30, that you're starting dinner prep at 4. And if you guys have to be in bed by a certain time, then you're having to read aloud at time at a certain time. So anyway, you kind of have to take the pieces, and sometimes it helps, like to take something like a whiteboard and block out your day and assign different things and see how it all works together. You can even, what I'll try to do is I'm going to try to have the specific routines already written out with specific times, okay, so that you can see how it could work out. And then what you can do, you can take that and you can adapt it for yourself. And I'll try to make like a worksheet that has time in it so that you can kind of block it out, and I'll try to make it in a graph kind of, so you can kind of like put little squares and assign to people. I mean, I even have other blog posts that I've talked about this. But I hope this helps you, because I know that when I came home, it was hard for me. And there are times that I still have to revamp over and over and over as life changes, right? And so it's okay. God can still help us. And sometimes when it doesn't seem like there's enough hours in the day, we're probably putting too much in, and we need to take something out, just saying. But trying to keep it to the most simple, basic ideas is the idea. The ideas is the idea. Keeping it to the most basic, simple precepts is the best idea here. Don't overblow your schedule. Don't put too much in that you can never get to. You can't do it all. You'll never be able to do everything that everybody's doing. You just got to do what God tells you to do, right? Because He is the master, the creator, and He knows what you need. Now, I'm going to give you something else for today. So here's some perfect scriptures God gave me for scheduling and for thinking about how you're going to have your life directed, okay? Listen, Psalm 55:22. Cast your burden on the Lord, and His schedule is a burden, isn't it? And He shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved. Isn't that good? Psalm 68:19. Blessed be the Lord who daily bears our burden, the God of our salvation. Selah. That's really good. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your care upon Him, for He cares for you. Isn't that neat? Psalm 37:5. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:4. This is the verse before it. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and He shall give you the desires of your heart. If you delight in the Lord and you desire an orderly, restful home, He will give you the desires of your heart as you let Him lead you and guide you. Okay, and here's another verse, okay, and this is where it all comes from. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. That's Isaiah 55, and I don't know the verse. So I am so thankful that you came here to listen to me today. I really hope this helps you. It helps me to go over these principles a lot of times. So you have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe, and if you leave a comment, it really helps me in the algorithms. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.